To be honest, a lot of Etsy sellers are a bit unsure right now, and it's mainly due to the fact that Etsy has made yet another change, and it's kind of a big deal. Recently, Etsy announced that the way the algorithm works in terms of ranking listings in the search has changed, specifically when it comes to listing titles. If you're familiar with search engine optimization, then you likely know that the title is one of the key areas that the Etsy algorithm would scan to determine if a listing is a match for a specific shopper and how high it should be ranked in the results if so. Well, the way we do this has now changed drastically. So today I'm breaking down what exactly has changed, what it means for you, and giving my personal opinion on how you can best move forward with this new information to see more sales in your Etsy shop. Now, before we dive in, if you are new to selling on Etsy, or maybe you haven't even opened up your Etsy shop yet, I've got a free gift for you. It's going to be a huge help as you get going with your Etsy business. It's my Etsy Quick Start Guide, and this is the guide I wish I had had when I first started selling on Etsy. Because to be honest, when you're researching how to be successful on Etsy, there are so many voices, there can be so much noise out there, and sometimes it's just overwhelming. You don't know where to start. So this is literally a bullet point list of the most important things that you'll need to focus on strategy-wise to get your shop and listings optimized both for ranking high in the search and for converting into sales. It's a completely free download, so I've got that linked in the description box below. Feel free to grab that if you think it could be a help to you on your Etsy journey. Okay, so like I mentioned before, Etsy has officially changed the way listing titles work, and they published this article that gives clear, updated information and guidance on how to craft them so that you give your listing the best chance to be seen in the search and to make sales. So first of all, let's dive a little bit deeper into what this change is. Previously, the sort of historic and traditional way that we've been taught to craft titles and that has worked in the past to make sales is to use as many highly searched keyword phrases as possible in your title. So you would want to use up as many characters in the title as possible and sort of pack as many keywords in there as you could, sometimes repeating phrases or saying things in different ways to try to clue the algorithm into what exactly your listing was about and give it the best chance of ranking for those different keyword phrases. But the shift here is that Etsy no longer wants sellers to have these titles that are really long and drawn out with lots of different phrases in them. They're now saying that the best titles are going to be shorter, clear, and easy to scan. In the article that Etsy released, they said, "Our search system has evolved to take a more holistic view of your listing, including title, tags, attributes, descriptions, first photo, and even reviews to help connect your items with the right buyers." If you read through this article, you get the idea they're basically saying the listing title is still important, but it no longer needs to do all the heavy lifting. The way the search algorithm works now is putting less emphasis on the title and taking more into account those other parts of the listing that were mentioned. So now the titles should focus on clarity and relevance, and all of those other kind of extra details that would have been normally put in the title can now be moved to the description and the attributes. So let's talk specifically next about what to include in your title and what not to include in your title. Now, Etsy's given some really clear information and examples on this, so I'm really excited that we don't have to guess at this sort of thing. They've made it very apparent what works now and what doesn't. But before we jump into that, I wanted to let you know about one more resource I have for you that's going to be super helpful if you're trying to increase your sales on Etsy. It's my free 45-minute deep dive Etsy masterclass, the 5-pillar Etsy success formula. This is a training class where I go deeper into explaining the specific strategy that worked to bring my own personal Etsy shop to multiple six figures and that many of my students have also used and seen success with. I go through the 5 crucial pillars that you'll need to have in place and optimize to build a successful Etsy shop. So that's a completely free class that you can watch on demand. I've got that linked in the description box below, or you can just go to etsymasterclass.com when you're done watching this video. Okay, so what to include and not include in your title. Etsy's team gives us a clear list in this article of what they consider a great listing title. First of all, it says to clearly state the item for sale, like mug or dress. Then include the most important traits up front. So examples of this could be your item's color, material, or size. So when you put those two together, it could be something like linen dress or red mug. But we're going to continue down this list, and the next one says streamline for clarity and scannability. This is where we're really seeing a different approach with this new way compared to the old way. It says consider using less than 15 words when including the traits that make your item special. So again, we're not shooting for something super long to take up the whole title. We want this to be clear, compact, and we need to be a little more choosy with picking those really relevant specific words. Next one down says only include holidays, special occasions, or recipient types if they're essential to what the item is, like a birthday candle or a Halloween costume. So if you have something that needs a descriptor like birthday, Halloween, Christmas, any type of holiday or special occasion, if that item wouldn't make sense without that word, then it's best best practice to include it, but you don't want to go putting Christmas or birthday on more general items that could be a Christmas or a birthday item, but they don't necessarily have to be. It's also saying we need to move subjective words like perfect or beautiful to the description. So if you think about subjective versus objective, subjective is where that word can be interpreted different ways, taken different ways. So perfect and beautiful might be different from one person to the next, the way that they see that word and what it means. Objective, on the other hand, is a word that can't really be interpreted many different ways. It just is what it is. So red is red. Size medium is a size medium. So what I'm gathering from this new Etsy guidance is that we can still use those objective descriptive words in the title, but we want to move anything subjective that could be taken in different ways to the description. All right, next on the list is simple. Try not to repeat words. So in the past, we haven't been that worried about repeating here and there, but now Etsy's saying we really need to try not to repeat so that it is more clear and scannable. And lastly, they're saying don't worry about adding info about price, shipping, or sales to your title because Etsy helps take care of this by badging your items in the search. So it'll give that information to your shopper already. There's no need for you to put that in the title. So if we scroll down on this article, this little table right here is giving us basically all that same information, but with some examples. So first of all, it's telling us we need to include nouns in our title. So again, this would be like dress, mug, table. It's just the bare minimum of what your product actually is. And it's also saying that with the noun, you want to list this just once in the listing title. So if you have a mug, there's no need to say mug 5 different times in your title. Next down is talking about those objective descriptors. So any words that you have that are describing your product, some examples they give here are neon pink, extra large, reclaimed wood, vintage. These are the words that you want to include in your title because they're actually describing a really important aspect of what your product is. Etsy says here to include the top 3 most critical descriptors for the category, color, material, and size, as well as other key information that sets your item apart. I will make a little note here about the size. I don't think that they necessarily are talking about if you're selling apparel. You probably wouldn't need to include the sizes that are offered in your title because apparel is kind of the same across the board. Most apparel sellers are going to be offering the main sizes, but when it's referring to size, it's talking more about items like maybe a furniture piece or a lamp or something that you could describe as really large or really tiny. That's when the size is specifically important in the title. Next down talks about those holiday related words. So again, things like birthday candle, Halloween costume, it's saying sometimes keep that in your title. Really, you only need it there if it has to be there to accurately describe what this item is. Next down is aspirational and gifting keywords or phrases. So a lot of sellers used to include these phrases like gift for him, birthday present, personalized gift, because those are really highly searched keyword phrases. But Etsy's saying they no longer want us to include those in the title because they're not super relevant to what the item actually is. If I didn't have a picture on a listing and all it said was gift for him or birthday gift, that gives me no additional specific information as to what this product actually is. They also don't want us to include subjective words in the title like we talked about. So words like beautiful, perfect, wonderful, we can use those to describe it in the description, but not really in the title anymore. We also don't need to include any information on how the item is sold. So we don't need to say things like on sale or free shipping because again, Etsy will already give that information as part of your listing to the shopper. So no need to say it again in the title. And then lastly, again, it's reminding us don't include any unnecessary repeated words or phrases. So the example they give here is if you had a title that said unisex adult poncho, comma, unisex cotton poncho, you don't need to be repeating all of those words again as different phrases. You only need to say it once in the title. So scrolling down in this article, they do give us a few examples of an old title and how you would recraft it to the new way as the new title. So this first example that's given is showing how we would have normally sort of keyword packed that title with all the different highly searched keyword phrases. So it's saying dad t-shirt, father shirt, personalized Father's Day gift, personalized dad t-shirt, dad statement shirt, father shirt with kids' names. We can see how many times in that old way that we're repeating words like father, shirt, dad, and how it's really just cluttering it all up. It's not very scannable or easy to read, but this new title just says personalized 100% cotton dad t-shirt, custom kids' names, small through extra large. So much more compact, brief, clear, and focused on those very objective facts about the item. You can see see in these next two examples as well how these keywords are just repeated over and over again. These two are even less scannable because they don't even have those little bars separating each phrase. So if you compare them with the new way here, you can see these new titles are much smaller and easy to read. Now, I do want to give a note here that I'm not saying that SEO is not important anymore, and I don't think that's what Etsy is saying either. So even though Etsy is telling us in our titles now to make them a little more brief and really be specific about the keywords that we're including, we do still need to include highly searched keywords in the title. That is still part of how the algorithm scans listings to determine what that listing is all about and how high to rank it to shoppers. And we want to make sure that we're giving our listings the best chance to rank as high as possible. So you definitely do still need to be smart in your SEO strategy and specifically choosing one or two keyword phrases to plug in there. Now, one of my favorite tools to use to find these highly searched keyword phrases is Sales Samurai. Sales Samurai is an Etsy specific research tool that you can look up search volume for different phrases to see what would be the best to plug into your listings. So for instance, I'm here on their keyword search tool and I typed in the phrase leather bracelet. So if this was something I was offering, I could look this phrase up and it'll give me the estimated amount of times that that specific phrase is searched on Etsy every month. So it's over 15,000, which tells me there's a lot of people on Etsy every month typing in the term leather bracelet. And what I like to do is I can scroll down to this Etsy's most trending section. This will give me phrases that are related, but maybe slightly different. So I can get some different ideas. I can click where it says search volume to see the highest ones first, and then look through to see if any of these might be relevant to what I'm selling. So I can see the term men leather bracelet has over 34,000 searches. There's one that says dad leather bracelet, men jewelry bracelet leather. And I can continue to do the same type of thing if I continue to scroll down in this tag section to the right. These are also related keyword phrases that other sellers who were selling something similar on Etsy are using in their tag section. So again, I can see the Etsy search volume for each of these. I'm seeing again, men's jewelry down here. So hopefully as I'm looking through these, it'll spark some inspiration for the keyword phrases that I could use not only in my title, but also in my tags and description sections. There's so many different amazing things you can do on Sales Samurai. So if you'd like to try it out, I've got a free 3-day trial linked in the description box below. You can try it out for free, but also enter the code KATE20 when you sign up so that you'll get 20% off your subscription if you decide to continue using it beyond the free 3 days. I want to give Sales Samurai a big thank you for sponsoring this portion of today's video. Okay, so now that you know what the changes are, let's talk about how to best implement these changes. Now, Etsy doesn't give a ton of information or guidance here. This is mainly just my personal opinion as someone who has been an Etsy seller for over a decade and has seen what works and what doesn't. The first thing I'll say here is that if you have best-selling listings or listings that are already selling really well consistently, I would not go up and just change everything right off the bat. To me, there's no need to try and fix something that isn't broken. So if you have listings that are selling really well and working, I would just not touch those, at least for right now, and see how things play out as this new search system gets going. But I would recommend if you have listings that haven't done as well, or if you're creating new listings, to actually just give this a try. See how crafting your titles this new way works and look at the data to see if it makes any difference. Now, if you already have some listings published that you want to redo the titles for, you have two ways you can do this. You can either just, number one, do it manually, go into your listing editor and just one by one change those listing titles over to what you want to recraft it to say. Or number two, you can use Etsy's new AI-powered suggestion tool. This is a new optional tool that Etsy has rolled out with this new change to help sellers as they're shifting to the new way of doing titles. You'll find this tool in your Etsy search visibility tab in your shop manager, and it's going to automatically, with the use of AI, make suggestions for you for your new titles based on the listing's current title, description, and first photo. You can quickly update one or many listings at the same time. So if you're interested in using this tool, what I would recommend is to accept those suggestions that seem like they might be a good fit for your listing, but then go in and edit them yourself. You don't have to stick exactly with what each suggestion is. You can accept it overall and then just go in and make edits to make those new titles as relevant as they can be for what your product is. I probably wouldn't just use this tool without doing any editing because you still want to make sure it's relevant. You still want to make sure that it's got some of those really highly searched keyword phrases in there. But I do think it could be helpful for cutting down some time if you're wanting to make some mass bulk changes to your titles, to shift them all over using this tool and then just go in and tweak a few words here and there. So that's the basic gist of the new Etsy change and how titles are working now on Etsy. Don't forget to click the links in the description box below to grab your free Etsy quick start guide and to hop over and watch my free 5-pillar Etsy success formula masterclass that's going to give you all the proven strategy you need to start making consistent sales in your Etsy shop. Happy selling, friend.